Okay, something I've been meaning to have a go at doing for a long time is doing a 3 year graphics plan and getting it on one page. So to start off, I decided I'd look at what learning outcomes um, one is supposed to cover across the 3 years. So there's the 2D column, the 3D column, and the applied graphics column. And in all, there's 12 and 13 and 12, which is 37 learning outcomes that one needs to cover across the 3 years. Like before, the subject was kind of broken down by topics like orthographic or auxiliaries or whatever, and now it's broken down by learning outcomes, but you're still kind of teaching topics, so you've got to do your planning in learning outcomes, and I'm thinking I'm going to have a go at relating it back to topics. So I started off by kind of looking through old sheets there. What did we do in first year? And generally we'd start off with measuring and drawing angles, follow that up there with some freehand sketching and colouring pencils out then and doing some rendering and shading. Then after that I generally do polygons, so you'd look at like hexagons and pentagons and octagons and stuff like that, plane figures basically. Then I'd look at simple isometrics, rectangles, and putting a few measurements on them there. So bit of measuring reinforced again there. Generally after that then I'd go on and do orthographic, elevations, plans, in views, simple figures again, and indexing them. After that then sometimes I would go on and do some CAD, SolidWorks, and that wouldn't be a bad start to the year. So maybe we do more topics, but anyway, then in second year, moving on from that, you might start off and go and do some developments. Now obviously when you're doing developments you're kind of going back over orthographic again, because you're drawing elevations, plans, and in views before you do the developments. Follow that up maybe then with some ellipse and parabola, which is more plane figures again, conics. At some stage in second year I would do axonometric projection. Maybe it would be later on in the year where I just threw it down there anyway because I do it. And then I'd go on and do at some stage rotations. Another thing in second year is doing the CBA, and I'm just going to write down here about self-reflection, because that is a learning outcome that's kind of hard enough to get at unless you kind of build it into your regular class routine where they grade themselves or grade each other or whatever. But there's definitely room for a bit of self-reflection, and that is a specific learning outcome there, as we will see later on. So it's like analysis or analyze and evaluate both their own work and the work of others. So that's where you would kind of get at that learning outcome. Another one I do there then is making models. So simple enough there, if you draw the development of a cube, just to cut it out and tape it together, and maybe a cylinder and the basic solids. Enlargements and reductions is another one that you touch on in second year there. Polar enlargements and polar reductions, just shrinking and enlarging stuff. Maybe touch on simple auxiliary elevations, and maybe you might get onto solids and contact as well. Simple now, a sphere up against a cylinder or cuboid or something like that. Then I went on and I looked at what do I do in third year that's new? So I'm leaving out all the stuff that we've done before, and you can take it as a given that you'd be doing some of that stuff again in third year, and the measuring and angles and freehand sketching and CAD and all that. You're going to be hitting all of that, but what is new in third year? So you'd be doing CBA 2 and a bit of self-reflection. At some stage, you'd give a look at tangents, transformation geometry, axial symmetry, central symmetry. Probably then touch upon stuff as well, like the true length and the true shape of maybe the line, and definitely surfaces anyway. True shapes of surfaces, because that's something that comes up a lot. Now, the next one there is a tricky enough one to get at there, which is doing charts and graphs. But there is one specific learning outcome there, which is, I think, 1.11, which is, it's probably 1.7, which is interpret and create graphical representation of data and information. And like, that's very specific, so you kind of need to do pie charts and that. Maybe after that there, then you do like dimensioning, because of the project there, just leader lines and arrows and all that kind of stuff there. Do a little design and make project then at some stage as well. Simple stuff like a desk tidy. And at some stage you're going to be doing the drawing project, and maybe towards at some stage in the year as well, you touch on simple perspective, maybe 1 point and 2 point perspectives, again at a very simple level. Whatever you'd see coming up. So that would be pretty much all the things that I do across the 3 years. And it doesn't really matter, but what I decided to do then after that, and you have to have the graphics planner with you for that, is have a look there and see in the 2D, the 3D, the applied, when you're doing a topic, what learning outcomes are you achieving? So I looked there at measuring and angles there, and as I said earlier, there is 12 there in 2D and 13 in 3D and another 12, so there's 37 of these to be hit in total across the 3 years. Now, some of them, no matter what you do, you're going to do some of them loads of times, but how do you know that you're getting them all? So what I decided to do there then is look at measuring in angles, go down through all the outcomes there, and I decided you're hitting 1.3 and 1.6 when you're doing that. So deriving 2D solutions, and 1.6 apply their understanding of geometric principles to solve problems. So then I've moved on to freehand sketching and rendering, and had a look to see what was I getting, what learning outcomes are being achieved when you're doing freehand sketching and rendering. And I decided that I was definitely hitting 1.5, 2.1, 2.5 and 3.9. Now, I'm not going to go down through all of these, because once you have the gist of how to go about it, what learning outcomes is kind of subjective enough, really. Other people might think some topic is fulfilling other learning outcomes, but So that's kind of a matter of opinion. I'm more interested in looking at this as an approach to getting a plan done for the 3 years for yourself. So um, no, freehand sketching and rendering there, like, those you're going to be hitting 2.1 there, which is visualizing the manipulation of objects, and 3.9 they're applying a variety of renders and all that kind of stuff there. And it's something that I would build into other topics as well. I'd have them freehand sketching whenever we're doing orthographic or developments or axonometric. It's something like, that should be built into everything you do, really. Like, it reinforces their understanding. It's a great thing to do on every topic. It hits develop ideas using freehand sketches and all that kind of stuff. So again, as I said, I'm not going to go through all of these now, because I will pause the video there now in a second, and I'll just work away there and finish off the rest of first year. So polygons and plane figures would be doing 1.1, 1.3, 1.10, 1.12. So I'm going to just work away there now and fill all the rest of those in. And because I pre-recorded that, well, that's what gets covered there then. We'll say when you're doing CAD, when you're doing orthographic and indexing, when you're doing isometric and all that kind of stuff. So they're the learning outcomes. So as I said earlier, there's 37 of them to be done, 12 and 13 and 12 across the 3 years, and some of them you'll hit multiple times. But just, every time you're doing a topic, what are you doing? So I just paused that there and filled in all the learning outcomes that get done there again in second year, and just apply them there to like developments and the ellipse, the axonometric, whatever, all the ways down along there. Now the CBA there now is in, and the self-reflection, which is something there, just, it's not something, it's different. Like the CBA is a bit different there now, the sketching and stuff like that there. So then moving on again to third year, I looked through the list there, and when you're doing the CBA and the self-reflection, so again, not going to bore you with the details of it, but they are the learning outcomes that I feel I would be achieving when I'm doing the CBA 2 and tangents and transformation geometry, true lengths and charts and graphs and all that. So as you can see there now, like, there's loads and loads of learning outcomes being achieved, but it's kind of hard. Like, we'll say it would be very difficult to count them all up and know, like, were you hitting everything. So what I decided to do there then was I was going to do just a table, a visual aid, really, I suppose, as graphics teachers. So I'm going to do a table there in Word and just colour in the box there then for every time I was covering a learning outcome, and that then will kind of show up very quickly what I'm hitting all the time, and am I doing the same ones. So I created just a Word document there with there needs to be 37 learning outcomes and a column for the topic and a column for the year, so that your table, if you were inserting it there, has to be 39 columns and 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 4, 6, 8, 9, 30 or 31, so something like that. 30, you can always put in more columns anyway. So what I did there was then just populated all the things that I was doing in first year and second year and third year into that, and coloured in, if I was hitting 1.1 or 1.3. So I started just colouring in there the boxes there then for each one. Now the colouring here then, as you'll notice there, like the golden colours there are the ones that are kind of a bit hard to hit, and you'll see a lot of them are in the applied graphics in particular, which are the 3 point whatevers, and the red ones are the ones that I would say were extremely targeted, like, you're kind of going after them very specifically there, like 3.11 there now in particular, like just checking. 3.11 is to investigate how geometric principles and constructions found in nature would have provided inspiration for human application. I mean, that's not something that you'd be kind of hitting on, as you're doing orthographic projection or whatever. So I kind of I noticed like that I wasn't doing that, so I put in a little exercise there, a little freehand sketching sheet called Geometry in Nature, and that takes care of that. And we do it in first year. And then JCT had a little booklet there about geometry in our world, and we do that as well. We fill out that book there, and that hits another couple of difficult ones there. And another one worth looking at there is the making models using card. So when we do developments and we make our cone and our cuboid and our cylinder and our pyramid or whatever there, when they make those models, you're hitting 3.6 there. And 3.6 is develop design ideas or solutions through modeling and prototyping using a variety of media. Now I know you can do modeling using SolidWorks, but it's a way of doing tactile, hands-on stuff there, and it's simple enough that they draw their development of the object in school, and then when they go home they just remake it using a cornflakes box and fold it and put it together and all that, and that would would complete that learning outcome there. Then another difficult one over there is 1.7 there, which is interpret and create graphical representation of data and information. Now that's your charts and graphs, and like pie charts and bar charts and stuff like that, and graphs, like that's pretty specific. You don't kind of happen upon it in the other ones too much, like, so you have to kind of target that one. And that, and if you look in that column there, like I was only hitting 1.7 when I did my charts and graphs there, whereas other stuff there you do it multiple times there, like 1.3 deriving 2D solutions using appropriate media. I mean, 2D solutions, you're doing that like a heap of the time. Now again there in third year I just threw in a little simple design and make project there, where they'd research storage, desk tidy, or so the whole idea was that they'd research something, or a playground slide, or a climbing frame, or not a frame but a climbing course or something there. Like there would really be like some kind of a truncated pyramid or something like that, and they would research it and design their own one and make it. And it's only afterwards I realized how many of the learning outcomes you would hit. Now again, I suppose I was going after the one on modeling. Again, they're developing ideas through modeling and prototyping, but there's a bit of design. They draw it on SolidWorks, they sketch it, they do the orthographic and the measurements, and that's helping their freehand sketching and rendering. So it's unbelievable the amount of that project, like, would be hitting 10, 13, 15, 16, 18, like 20 learning outcomes, all in one little project that goes on for a week and a half, I suppose, or something like that. So when you kind of look back on this, then the whole idea is that every column, so these are all your learning outcomes along the top, and as I said there, like there's 37 of them, that like you would be hitting them all once, and it's inevitable, like, you know, you're hitting more of them multiple times, but every one of them should be getting addressed once anyway, or like, you know, I suppose you could be doing it in second year if you wanted, but you should have no blank column along here after the 3 years. So when I looked at it there, I suppose there's two columns there, as I mentioned. The 1.7 is the data, graphic representation of data. But if you look there as well, the very last one there, which is 3.12, develop an appropriate graphical representation of a solution to a contextual problem of their choice. So like that's why I started doing that little design and make project, because it's a contextual project of their choice. So, you know, you'd research something that's easy enough to make, and and then it's their choice, like, so they pick. But I would limit it to like they're all doing desk tidies, or they're all doing a playground climbing apparatus or something. You know, I wouldn't leave it wide open completely, so that they're all going off on their own direction. Well, I haven't so far anyway. And like, I realised that I wasn't kind of hitting the one of their choice, you know, so I gave them a bit of freedom there, like. But I now realise like that's, you know, a great exercise, because it kind of covers so many different things, and obviously you've got the project in perspective. And the thing is, like, you know, if you change the order of these things around, like, you know, you can just insert a row there and copy and paste it up, so you could move stuff from first year to second year. You could change your focus or add other stuff in. But like, it's a one way, and it mightn't be, you know, it mightn't be a great way, it mightn't even be a good way, it could even be a bad way of doing planning, but at least it's a plan, you know, and it's a 3 year plan that if anybody knocked on your door, a man in a black suit, and said, like, I'm from the inspectorate and I'd like to see evidence of your planning, you know, that's something anyway, like, you know, and it's a good overview. So uh, hopefully that might be of use to some people out there anyway. So yeah, best of luck with that.